I can swim. Just can't walk or dress myself. Take it easy. Take it easy.
Salute, and welcome. Welcome back to the Black Ocean. Now, swinging in the deep end with your host, the one and only Great Black Shark. Oh, yeah, family. We got to discuss a great deal over here on the broadcast tonight. But before we get into that, I must let all of you know that today is a holiday. Oh, yes, this is a sacred holiday, and we must celebrate it right. I'm not going to give a sponsor because this is a special day and it needs to be honored the right way. Oh, yes, indeed. Happy Fade on the Water Day. Oh, yes, indeed. Happy Fade on the Water Day. August 5th, 2023, Montgomery, Alabama, better known as the Montgomery Brawl. Yes, when our people, foundational Black American freedmen, had to get some straightening with them white supremacists down there. Because, hey, when it's not a fight that's fair, when in doubt, grab you a chair. Okay? That's exactly what needs to be done in those types of situations. Now, family, I don't know if a lot of you saw this, but how about, we got the Wind is Together. The Wind is Together people call themselves trying to claim that they had something to do with that, helping us defend them. If anything, they was helping the damn white supremacists. All these so-called brown people, I can't find them. Most of the brown people I understand are classified as white. No, you taco tellers can get your asses on back. Don't get a chair upside your head. August 5th, 2023, okay? Fade on the Water Day, that is our day, the 1-year anniversary of the legendary brawl that we had to let these motherfuckers know. If you fuck around, you will definitely find out dealing with foundational Black American freedmen. Okay? So I hope, none of you have had to apply the chair, but if you do have to apply the chair, do not spare the chair. Okay? There's a slogan for you. Do not spare the chair. Sometimes people need a good chair upside the head to get their shit together. Okay? So now, that's it. Let me scroll up and make sure I greet my esteemed guests joining us over here tonight. I see Melanated Tay in the building. Opal Ivy is joining us. Sakina is joining us. Tanisha Murdaugh's in here. My good brother Dad Miller TV is in the house. Dunzed, I see you, sister. Ms. Zell, salute to you and yours. Trisha Jenkins, the brilliant librarian. I see Sidonia Snow, Reef the Watcher FBA in the house. Let's see, Only Pamela's Way is in here. Devin Haley's in here. Charlie X, I see you. B1 Vanessa Jones, my good brother Seven Skills. Project Leroy's in here. B. Mosby and the Fabulous Legs, I see you. Elisa Marie, I see you, sister. Derek Parker, let's see. I don't miss anybody. I think that's everybody for now. So salute and welcome to all of you joining us so far and anybody else that'll be joining us until tonight. Oh, yes, family. We got a great deal to discuss here tonight because, see, the broadcast title is The Black Agent of the Blue Klux Klan. And when I say the Black agent, I'm not talking about just one person in particular. I'm talking about that mindset of some of these sellout Negroes that join these race soldier departments. Now, let's be clear. If you're a Black police officer, brother or sister, okay, whether you're of our lineage or not, and you join a police force and you're trying to do the right thing, my hat is off to you. Salute to you. However, I'm talking about the ones that get in there and they turn into little dark-skinned race soldiers, okay? Yeah, we got to talk about them tonight because, see, even though I'm talking about a mindset and a broad mentality, we're going to focus on one that exhibits that mentality perfectly here tonight. And I'm going to warn you in advance, what you're about to see tonight, later on in the broadcast, is going to be very disgusting. But we have to analyze this nonetheless and break certain things down because there's a lesson in everything, okay, ladies and gentlemen? And speaking of that, before we get into tonight's exegesis over here, I will be covering several stories that have happened lately that a lot of you have sent me, messages about, things I'm abreast of. Just know we're going to have a heavy week, okay? I might have to do back-to-back broadcasts to get a lot of this out, okay? Definitely got some things to cover on Patreon about the lies told in the Vietnam War. So if you sign up over there on the Black Ocean Zone 1 tier, that broadcast will be coming up very soon, but it's a lot going on. It's a lot going on. We got to stay on top of it and make sure our people are well prepared to deal with these threats because we all we got and we the only protection we're going to have, okay? The sambozos and sellouts in the Congressional Black Caucus and everywhere else, they're not advocating for no anti-Black hate crime bill, okay? They're not advocating for reparations. They're not advocating for anything that represents the empowerment and protection of our people. So we must take it upon ourselves to do that job, as we should, okay? As we should. So now that everybody is aware that this is a holiday, okay, do not spare the chair. August 5th, 2023, Montgomery, Alabama was when the river brawl took place, and this is the 1-year anniversary. And let me say this to especially young foundational Black American freedmen listening, and our own Code 9 FBA brothers. So salute to my good brother Torian Rain Reloaded in the house. Hey fam, brother Torian, drop your channel in the chat, man. I want the brothers and sisters over here, just in case, if they hiding on the rock somewhere, they don't know who this brilliant young journalist is. You need to be subscribed to this brother's channel. Let me tell you something. This brother right here has a series that is an excellent history teaching tool. If you are looking for a We Fought Back series, he has Sundown Town series. It's an excellent teaching tool since they're removing the history out of schools. The brother rarely ever curses. Don't worry about it. You can listen to his content around anybody. That brother's channel, you need to be subscribed to my good brother Torian Rand Reloaded. Yes, sir, indeed. And see, the reason why you hear me every time I see one of the young brothers or sisters come over here that I recognize have platforms, they need to be pushed forward. Because before I get into tonight's lesson, let me take the time and say this, because Torian does outstanding work, okay? Outstanding. The reason why I take the time to do that is one of the mistakes that the silent generation and the boomers made, and if you didn't do this, I'm not talking about you, but one of the mistakes that those generations made, they didn't really take the lead in bringing up younger people and saying, okay, hey, this is your time now. Push them out to the forefront, be there with whatever they need. And see, that's something that has to change going forward in America between Gen X, millennials, and Gen Z. And I say specifically to us Gen Xers, since we're the oldest out of that generation, we must make sure that we do not make the same mistakes or bad decisions, rather, that some of the silent generation and the boomers made, where you just want to stay in power all the time. You're supposed to bring up the youth, because the youth is the future of your people, okay? So that's why you'll always see me shouting out and showing love to the young people. And Brother Torian, I'm going to get with you, too. I have some people that I think you will be interested in interviewing once you get the chance. I know you have a very busy schedule, my brother, but I think your channel will be better suited to get them on. I got to reach out to you and Brother Afro and a couple of others. So, I'll hit you after the broadcast, definitely. But family, do me a favor and do yourselves a favor. Subscribe to my good brother Torian Rand Reloaded's channel, okay? So now, what we're going to be covering here tonight, all right, we're going to be covering this race soldier mentality. And, you know, before we get into this, I want to play something to give you all a bit of a lesson that it doesn't matter how much somebody in the Black community says it. Sometimes it's better when them folks tell you out of their own mouths. Because see, I'm not saying any of you in here, but all of you in here probably know a Black person when you try to tell them something, hey, they don't want to hear it unless it comes from them folks, okay? So the first thing we're going to review here is going to be something that's going to set the tone for tonight's broadcast. We're going to cover several lessons over here, and I think everybody's going to learn from it. So with that said, we got to go ahead and get started.
As a nurse, when I say all cops are bad, it's because I work with them. It's because I work with them enough to know that the good cops are so few and far between, that the shit like Sonia Massey's case is so unsurprising to me, so deeply unsurprising to me, and yet still made me physically ill when I watched that video. Sonia called the cops herself because she thought there was an intruder at her home. They then went to her home, started questioning her, entered her home, were suspicious of her. Mind you, she had called them, asked her for her identification, and then when they noticed that she was in the middle of cooking dinner with a pot of boiling water on the stove to make pasta, they said, hey, can you go attend to that pot of boiling water? And then when she did that, they 6 times. They fired 6 times into her head. As a nurse, when I say that racism is a public health crisis, I mean it. And when I say racism is a public health crisis and a lot of the perpetrators are other healthcare workers, I mean it. Because the amount of healthcare workers that I genuinely don't think even understand that there's an issue with our policing system in this country is so upsetting. But it's the truth. They fired at her 6 times over a pot of boiling water that they asked her to attend to. Her last words were, "I'm sorry." She ducked and said, "I'm sorry." I will never forget that. The whole thing is on video. And then none of the cops held the guy who killed her accountable. He stopped his partner from offering her assistance. His partner gave up. Not that it would have mattered, because 6 rounds into someone's head, beyond assistance. When I say it's all cops, I mean it. I mean it. Because we allow the most untrained, unbelievably violent and racist human beings and bigoted human beings to become law enforcement.
Now, I play that for a reason, family, because, see, a lot of times, and I'm not saying you in the chat here, but I want to make sure that anybody catches on the playback or any person that's new to this channel understands what that white woman just said. She's in the healthcare field. She's telling you how her people are. And when any of them come forward like that and speak like she's speaking, you better believe them. I commend her for speaking on that. But the only thing that I would take issue with, and I'm not faulting her because that's a white woman. Notice she kept saying the term racism, racism, racist, racist bigotry. They are white supremacist race soldiers. See, for me, that racism term, that's kind of mild. You got to call them exactly what they are. And, you know, she said she's never going to forget it. Well, I understand that. And again, I commend her for speaking out because it can be used as a teaching tool like we're using it over here tonight. But you call these people what they are, okay? Call them what they are because the threat is very serious. As you see, our departed sister Sonia Massey's face here on the screen at her home, thinking that she was calling for help. And then they say, you know, you call the murderous race soldiers there. And we've all seen that when they showed up, they had an attitude with the sister. All right, you already knew that was a sign it was going to go left. And, you know, again, I'm definitely not faulting this sister for her death like this despicable bastard that we're going to be analyzing here tonight has done. Oh, we're going to get to him. Oh, yeah. I just wish that the sister would have had a brother there or somebody there. And I'm going to tell you why I say that, because as a black man, and most brothers in here, whether you married or you got a significant other, you know, we wouldn't have let them in their house like that. Be like, hey, if you don't have a warrant, I'll come outside and talk to you. Better yet, wouldn't have had to call the police, because I'm going to tell you right now, I'm just going to speak for myself, and you brothers in here can sound off. I'm going to tell you one of the worst things in the world that you could ever do to get my attention. If you bring your ass around where I lay my head unwelcome with bad intentions, well, just know that it probably going to be calling the coroner to come scoop your ass up. I'm really not a call the police kind of guy. That's never been my thing. It's never been my family's thing. So I said that to say that, you know, brothers, we'll make sure that everything's straightened out as far as that's concerned. And see, ladies, I understand. I'm definitely not blaming this sister for her death. I would never do that. That was a despicable, cowardly thing to do for any Sambo that tries it. But I must speak to the sisters that do not have men. You know, on this channel, I'm a big advocate for the sisters out here, all black people, especially you sisters that live by yourself, practice your Second Amendment rights, okay? Make sure that you have surveillance in your home and around your home. It's not expensive to get cameras today. If you need to know where to find these types of things, man, I'm not Hollywood. You can hit me up on any social media. His sisters in here will tell you. They hit me up all the time about protection things and things that will secure them in their home, defense items, and I make sure they get that information, okay? Because, see, a lot of times, if you can just see what's going on before you go to that door, that can give you a lot of leeway on your side to prepare to deal with a specific situation. They have cameras today where you can actually talk without leaving your home, two-way communication, and get some understanding before you even open that door. Now, let's be clear. The race soldiers are the race soldiers. You don't let them in your home or agree to let them in unless they got a warrant. But let's be clear, they can kick that door in if they want to. And if they do it, hey, it's lawsuit time. I don't know about y'all, but I like free money, okay? I would be laughing. I'd be like, okay, you gonna come in here without a warrant? All right, yeah, let me go in and get a couple of coins out of you. The only thing I see about that, it shouldn't come from the city. It should come from the race soldiers themselves and the police unions, okay? See, there's a lot that this generation, or these generations rather, Gen X, Millennials, and Gen Z, need to be in unison on when we come to power as far as running this country, because it's going to happen. The old geriatric tyrants cannot stay in power forever. They are not going to be able to stay in there forever. Every 2 years, they going on to wherever they're going. So that's what I always mean when I say that society needs to be updated to fit modern standards, okay? So now, I got to bring something else to you all's attention here before we get to the main subject matter, because I want to let you hear something else before we get to that part here in just a few minutes. Direct your attention to the middle of the screen here. Horrified, courtesy of ABC News, Sheriff Jack Campbell, who hired ex-deputy charged in Sonia Massey killing, speaks out. Massey's family has publicly called for Campbell to step down, okay? So I just want you to have the name of the gentleman you're about to hear speaking here, and I say gentleman loosely. Okay, I'm trying to keep my composure here tonight. It'll be a difficult broadcast for me to get through, but I shall get through it nonetheless. The sheriff you're about to hear speaking, his name is Jack Campbell, okay? This is the one that's responsible for hiring that race soldier. So I'm going to let y'all hear him speak, and then I'm going to make some points that I made on the previous broadcast when I was speaking on this subject, because, again, I'm all about making sure, and not just myself, many members of New Black Media, our job is to make sure that our people have information that you're often not privy to, or you might not be aware of, because knowledge, when applied, becomes wisdom, and that in turn is your power that you can use to protect yourself, your family, and your community. So we're going to examine what this Jack Campbell had to say here, and after he finishes speaking, I'm going to make several points about something, and I'm going to remind all of you about something that I want all of you to do your research on, and it's something that the Black grassroots is going to have to start pushing for to start preventing these types of tragedies, because this sister right here was somebody's mother, somebody's sister, auntie, cousin, what have you. She should still be here. And what happened to her, we're not going to forget about it. We don't care how long they tried to delay it. They're probably going to wait till after the election to get the trial together. But we're going to keep the same energy that we had when this happened to her, to make sure that this race soldier, the charges they got on him, I already know what they're going to try to pull. They hit him with first degree, then they're going to try to knock it down to second degree. No, he needs first degree murder, because, to be honest, I'm going to say it again, Derek Chauvin should have gotten first degree murder. That was premeditated. When you sitting there and you plan to kill somebody like he did the brother George Floyd, and definitely this bastard the way he killed this sister here, them first degree murder charges have to stick, and we must make sure we get the conviction, okay? So I want y'all to listen to what Sheriff Jack Campbell had to say, and then I'm going to bring something to everybody's attention.
There was nothing in his background that would disqualify him from being a police officer in Illinois. In fact, he'd been hired by 5 other agencies, and he'd been certified by the state of Illinois 6 different times to be a police officer here. So there was nothing in his background that would prevent him from being a police officer. We gave him all the training, all the equipment and tools that he needed. He had the experience he needed. He and he alone was responsible for this. There was no way you could predict a violent act that he committed on July the 6th. We are devastated as to why he snapped. When my men and women watched the body cam footage, they were devastated. They were horrified, because they know that is not police officers. That is not a Sangamon County Sheriff's deputy. That is a rogue individual that made a decision for whatever reason that we'll probably never know to commit that act. And he is in jail right now awaiting adjudication. Yes, the vetting process has worked very well for a long time. This is an individual that acted outside the scope of his authority, the scope of our policies and procedures in the law. You can't predict that. There's no connection between mistakes you made when you were young and committing a violent act like that.
Coming to get you.
Now I'm going to pause this right here, because, I got problems with a lot of what this bastard just said. First and foremost, Deshaun Grayson, a race soldier, despicable maggot that he is, and I'm going to say it yet again. I know a lot of you may clutch your pearls at this, but I do not believe in coddling my enemies. May that colon cancer that he has, that they reported on, eat his ass up. Okay? I wanted to eat his ass up until there's nothing left from head to toe, because that's exactly what he deserves. Okay? Regarding the race soldier, Sean Grayson, it has been revealed that he was a fuck up in the military. Okay? So now here's something that I would love to see, and I'm going to be advocating for it, doing my part to make sure this comes to fruition. It's going to be an issue that I'm going to take up with other brothers and sisters on the Black grassroots. If you are drummed out of the military with a dishonorable discharge or any type of disciplinary thing other than honorable, you should not be able to become a member of law enforcement. You shouldn't, okay? And see, you see how they're trying to call him. He's trying to stay on code with his white supremacist race soldier killer. He's talking about something that he did. That's basically what he was talking about, his military record. Something that he did when he was younger has no effect on that. Yes, it does, because your mindset has always been this way. See, these people claim to have all the high IQs in the world, but yet they can't figure out what a motive was behind. We already know what the motive was. Because, see, my job and members of other members of New Black Media is to remind my people exactly what you're dealing with here, okay? Which is what I'm about to do shortly before we get into analyzing this wannabe race soldier pet over here, okay? And believe me, I'm trying not to call him certain things because I want everybody to be able to listen to this broadcast. But see, at Jack Campbell, don't let him fool you. You better understand something. I know this might be heartbreaking for a lot of the sisters to hear, because when we brothers hear that kind of crap, we're not afraid. We're not terrified. We are infuriated. I understand that when they get in front of them cameras, it's everything they can do to hold back the laughter that they have. Because I got to be honest. Don't you know when one of us are killed like that, when they're around each other, oh, they celebrate that. They celebrate that. Now, a lot of you, and it might be some white supremacists listening, or, you know, folks that are white, they're like, oh, cops ain't bad. Oh, okay, really? Well, I'm going to take my people down a trip down memory lane, because, see, I keep telling people, you get down here to the South, we all know what our ancestor and Grandmaster Teacher Malcolm said, anything south of Canada is the South. However, when you get down here to these southern states, it is a different ball game. Now, in case anybody doesn't understand what I mean, I'm going to show you something that's not going to come from me. You're going to hear from the race soldier himself. What you're about to hear, this happened down here in Georgia, okay? Now, I want y'all to pay close attention to this, because I'm showing you all of these things in this order for a reason.
The video shows a Cobb County, Georgia police officer talking to a woman in a car he pulled over on a traffic stop. She's unwilling to move her hands, afraid, she says, of getting shot, and he tells her, don't worry.
But you're not black. Remember, we only kill black people. Yeah, we only kill black people, right? All the videos you've seen, have you seen any white people get killed?
Though it happened a year ago, the video is just now coming to light. The officer, Lieutenant Greg Abbott, has been on the force nearly 30 years. His lawyer says he was, quote, trying to gain compliance by using the passenger's own statements. But the county's new police chief said today that what happened was unacceptable.
I don't know what's in his heart, but I certainly know what came out of his mouth. The recommendation is to terminate his employment from the Cobb County Police Department.
The date stamp on the video, July 10th, 2016.
Stay with me.
Just 4 days after cell phone video went viral showing the moments after a white policeman killed a black driver, Philando Castile, in Minnesota. As shocking as the Georgia video is,
Remember, we only kill black people.
leaders of the black community in the county say the chief's decisive action is reassuring.
We have hope here in Cobb that we have a chief and leadership that is serious about bringing this department to be one of the better ones in the nation.
The police chief says the community and his own officers expected an appropriate response. Pete Williams, NBC.
Now, I showed you that for a reason, because, see, that's not some one-off. That's not a rarity. That's the greater majority of these race soldiers, whether you're here in the South or nationwide. But, see, they call this place the Dirty South for a reason. You understand? Let me tell you something. These rednecks down here that's in these race soldier departments, they are a different breed. You understand me? Or they are a different breed. And see, one of the things I want our people, in Black America to understand is when we show you these things, it's not to surprise you. Okay. It has nothing to do with being surprised. We want you to learn from these things. Okay. That's the point. We want you to learn from these things so that you have a firm understanding of what you must teach Black children about the reality that they find themselves in being Black in America. Okay. So I want to let you see those things so that you can understand how despicable what we're about to critique here in a few minutes is. And see, let me tell you something. For the sambos and sambets that go and side with them folks when they murder our people like that in any kind of way, we have to make sure that they are permanently excommunicated from the Black community. They have to become pariahs. Their very names must become something synonymous and disgusting as if you would say a pedophile. Okay, we have to start treating them like that because see, we can't play with our people's lives. All right, these people have declared war upon us, and there's nothing that you should be afraid of. You just need to be aware of things, and this is why being on code is more important than ever in these critical times in the hour of our history. Okay, see, we all like to have a good time. Nothing wrong with that. That's a human thing to do. We need to unwind. But when it comes to handling things like this, all the jokes need to go out the window. And see, this is why I wish that brothers and sisters nationwide would start getting on the page of, if you're not already doing it, getting together to make sure you keep your own community safe so them folks don't have to be coming over there, because you never know when you're going to get a Sean Grayson next, okay? You never know when you're going to get an Amber Geiger next or a Derek Chauvin next. I mean, the list goes on and on. We'll be here all night naming these demonic race soldiers that have taken the lives of our people, okay? So now I want to play for you something else because, see, we don't forget any of our fallen over here because it's very tragic what we're about to review, but I had to bring it to you all tonight to underscore the importance of the subject matter. And when we get to the despicable bastard here that we're going to be in, y'all, if you don't know his name, you're going to recognize him when he starts speaking if you didn't recognize it from the thumbnail. I'm going to play this for you, and it's going to further underscore why he's such a despicable, low-life maggot of I don't even want to call him a human being. Okay? He's a traitor. I'll call him that. I want y'all to pay attention to this report here by our good brother, Dr. Rashard Ritchie.
One of the most tragic stories you've heard this year now has another tragedy. Do you remember Mr. Fortson was shot and killed by a deputy as the deputy decided to simply shoot upon the man opening his door? His brother, Roger Fortson, was fatally shot as well. Here's a reminder of the original reporting.
Are they fighting or something?
He's saying that it happens frequently.
Okay.
But this time it sounded like it was getting out of hand.
Sheriff's office, open the door! Sheriff's office, open the door! Step out. Drop the gun! Drop the gun!
It's over there.
Drop the gun!
I don't have it.
312, shots fired. Suspect down. Do not move!
He was no suspect. There was no disturbance at his apartment. He was FaceTiming with his lady friend at the time this happened. The deputy knocks on the door. He's military, he's Air Force. He's wondering who is knocking on my door like this. He tells his lady friend, just hold on for a minute, let me check this out.
Now, let me pause my good brother, Dr. Rashard Ritchie, right here. And family, I know that was hard to watch. That hits me a certain way because as a retired combat veteran, I hate to see any young Black person lose their life before they make it to my age where I am now. And, you know, I don't talk a lot about my former military history. I survived quite a few things in my lifetime where I should not be here, and I am. And when I see young brothers like that, he was only 23 years old, senior airman, Roger Fortson, may he rest in peace, and condolences to his family. But we're going to continue to fight to get justice for him and all the others that we've lost. Because, see, I want to make this point, and it goes back to what I said at the beginning of the broadcast. Family, this is why you have to have surveillance outside of your doors at your home, because that might have made a difference if he could have seen the guy, had some communication with him through two-way communication without having to open that door and get an understanding. Okay, let him know, hey, you got the wrong person. I'm coming out or what have you, you know what I'm saying? But hey, listen, I'm not the guy you're looking for. I can understand why the brother came to the door armed, though, because, hey, you know, it's people that claim they're police officers. And then they say, you know, you're going to open your door thinking that's them, and there's a home invasion going on. So there's that. You covered that also. So this is why you have to have some type of surveillance, you know, going on at your house. And for me, if you like me, let me tell you something, 360. I can see every single thing. I hate it for the silly son of a bitch that ever try to sneak up on where any of my places, because I have more than one home, okay? I invest in security heavily, and I encourage all of you to do so. Like I said, if you ever need advice on things that are affordable, that give you surveillance capability and communication ability around your home, let me know, and I'll make sure to get that information to you, because, see, this is not a game. This is not a game, okay? So now I want you to listen to the rest of what Brother Dr. Rashard Rich is about to say, because this right here, this really... it really pained me to hear what he's about to tell you that happened here. I want y'all to listen to this. And then again, like I said, I'm showing you this to underscore how despicable the bastard that we're about to critique here is.
He looks through the peephole. He doesn't see anybody. Why? Because the deputy decided to sidestep the peephole. Once again, this is not a suspect for anything. There's no verification this is a suspect. So he goes, he grabs his gun. He is a licensed gun owner, and he's in the military. He's trained. He does what his training tells him to do, which is you do not lift that gun until you have identified a threat. So his gun.
He's absolutely correct. And see, let me tell you something right now. In the military, when you pull that trigger, you better be sure, okay? You can't see, there's a reason why you can't just be killing people willy-nilly. I know a lot of people have a idea about how things are in the military, any branch of it, but no. If you're going to do some killing, you better be sure, okay? You see, they can't do that in there, or they know there's going to be international consequences, all right? So now, again, this is why I'm going to be trying to push for getting that post-certification revoked and removed from people that just, before they kill black people, they have so many infractions of unnecessary violence, like the video that you saw of the young brother that they had in handcuffs. It was over there on that West Coast because it looked like it was a white Hispanic officer. He punched the young brother in the face and he's in cuffs. That is a despicable, cowardly thing to do. You got a man restrained in cuffs. He asks you a question and you punch him. See, that lets you know he's probably a part of that executioners gang over there in Los Angeles. And he already has anti-black racism, because there's no reason for you to strike a man because he's talking and you got him subdued in handcuffs with two people and both of y'all are armed. See, these racists are some of the biggest bitches on the planet. Yeah, I got to say it like that. They're some of the biggest punks on the planet. This is why I do not fear them, and I don't want any of you to fear them either. Okay? Look, let me say something particularly to the women. Listen to the sound of my voice. Do not live in fear. You hear me? We not gonna be a people that live in fear in our own country. Now, I know that's easier said than done, and I'm not saying this to mock or chastise the women that are single, because I know a lot of Negroes will do that. No, I love everybody in my community, and whether you single or you got somebody, you still deserve to live here in peace if you're a law-abiding citizen. But to you sisters in particular, you draw close to the male family members that you have, okay? And if you're gonna get with some dude, make sure he ain't no punk, like a Van the Crime Man Jones, because Lord knows you by yourself, you get you a Van the Crime Man Jones. Make sure you get straight lace alpha males. Better yet, get you a Sigma male, okay? Because we don't play the radio about security, all right? Defending our families and our property, all right? So now, for you sisters out here that are single, practice that Second Amendment right. Get you some surveillance for your home. Keep you other secondary deterrents. Hey, whether it's your pepper spray gel, okay, yeah, look, I could be here all night listening to different types of deterrents. Make sure you have some type of secondary besides your firearm, because, hey, just in case it jams, You got other things in your home where, in the unfortunate event, somebody does decide to try you because they've been watching you and decide to break in. You got things in strategic locations in your home to help them finish with all of their living. Okay? But that's exactly what should happen if they break the threshold of your home unwelcome and unbidden. All right? And see, to you brothers that are married, this is something that should be a pastime in your household, and I get it. Some of the sisters are scared of firearms, but you shouldn't be. With the proper training, you can use them effectively and safely. It should be a tradition that you and your lady pick some days out the week and you head to a range near you. And better yet, if you're down here in the country, hey, we got all the range we need in these wide open spaces. You hear me? I want my people to be prepared to defend themselves because we have the right to live in peace and not be terrorized in our country. Okay? We're not going to let these people have us scared to death every time they come around, all right? And trust me, that crap they got going on, I know it sounds like it's far off, but that's finna come to an end. Oh, it definitely is. And I'll get to explaining why I say that a little bit later here. But I just wanted to take the time to point that out. Let's let the brother Dr. Rashard Richard continue.
Remained on his side. The officer had similar training. You do not lift that gun until you see a threat. One man followed his training. The other man did not. The man that followed his training is dead. The man that did not is fired.
With millions watching and many people benefiting from this program called Indisputable, we just need 1% of the viewers to become a paid member so we can continue to bring this content to you. Now back to the show.
Put it up full mass. For the second time in nearly 3 months, the mother, Miss Fortson, is mourning the loss of a son to gun violence. Andre Fortson, 16 years of age, the younger brother of the 23-year-old Roger Fortson, an Air Force senior airman, killed by a Florida sheriff's deputy in early May, was shot to death outside the family's home in DeKalb County. This is Georgia, on July 30th, according to the police. The older son was devoted to helping his mother with his brother and another younger sibling. She told reporters in May, quote, "He was trying to give me everything that I ever could get, that I never could get for myself." If you remember the original reporting we did on Indisputable, we highlighted how he was a mentor to his brother, that he took care of his brother. And as soon as that cop removes this covering, this happens to his brother. There's more.
Now I'm gonna pause it right here because see, I want to underscore something for the family here gathered here tonight. You notice these cowardly demonic race soldiers, they never shoot these white supremacists like that, and they can be being shot at by the white supremacists. We've seen video of little 14-year-old kids shooting at police, and they don't want to shoot back at them, but boy, let it be a black person and they suspect they have any type of firearm. Like my good brother K. Wright says, salute to you, comrade. Owning a firearm is not illegal. We have a Second Amendment right in this country. So a lot of white supremacists will try to use that rationing about making it where if a black person has, a firearm, oh, that's the worst thing in the world and you was justified to kill them. Oh, no, you're not. You're not. The Second Amendment works for us just like it does for you. But see, my heart goes out to this mother here because no parent should have to bury a child, and now she's had to experience that loss twice. Family, let me talk to my brothers here for a minute. I need to say this, and I'm going to be very guarded in my words because it's going to be hard for me to say it the right way, but I have to try. I've said this many times before. When anything happens to the children and the women of your particular group inflicted upon you by another group, that is an act of warfare. You hear me? Brothers, what's understood doesn't need to be explained. It's going to have to get to a point where we let them know that if you do that, there's going to be consequences for that. I think y'all understand what I'm telling you. I'm going to leave it there because they're going to have to learn that we love our women and children the same way you love yours. You're not going to keep doing this to us, and then the only thing we do is march around with signs. I want y'all to listen to the rest of what Dr. Rashard Richard has to say here.
Police said younger Fortson was killed in a breezeway of the Summit Hill Apartments on Boulder Crest Road. This is the area I was actually raised in. While neighbors told a local station that he was caught in the crossfire of a shootout and likely was not the intended victim. One of the alleged shooters, identified as a 20-year-old, Quintavious Zellner, has been arrested on charges of aggravated assault and is held right now in the DeKalb County Jail, according to WSB Channel 2. Police said they believe another teenager was involved in the shooting. However, they would not confirm whether this person had been taken into custody. Neighbors said they heard the gunshots, and when the suspect sped away, leaving Andre mortally wounded in the breezeway, one person tried to administer CPR, but the teenager died at the scene. The latest heartbreak for the Fortson family comes nearly 3 months after Andre's older brother, Roger, was killed May 3rd by an officer who opened fire at the man's apartment in Fort Walton, Florida, while arriving to investigate a simple disturbance call. Fortson was chatting with his girlfriend on FaceTime before he was shot 6 times by the officer. And Fortson opened his front door with a gun pointed down at the floor as he was trained to do. Fortson never had time to react. Now their mother, Ms. Fortson, is devastated following another unthinkable tragedy, with 2 of her 3 children violently slain less than 3 months apart. Her daughter, Harmony, is her last surviving child. Harmony has lost all her brothers in 3 months. The mother has lost all her sons 3 months apart. 2 days before he was fatally shot by a sheriff's deputy in Florida, U.S. Air Force Senior Airman Roger Fortson called home to ask his 10-year-old sister what she wanted for her birthday. Mama Fortson also told the Tampa Bay Times that once, when Roger was injured and thought he would die, he told her he had to push through for his brother and his sister. He doesn't get killed overseas serving in the United States military. He gets killed as a black man opening an apartment door because a deputy went to the wrong unit. Mr. Mayor, thoughts?
As a veteran, I know all too well that the deadliest uniform that a black man can wear is skin, not a camouflage green. Yeah. And it's not in the borders overseas. It's right here at home. When we see this, I think people forget that black people are, killed by cops at rates that mimic the 100 years of hanging and lynching black folk.
Now I'm gonna pause the brother right here and point something else out. Okay, if you take note of this, and the white supremacists know this, the ones that are more likely to shoot at police are their own people, not black folks. Oh, this is a well-known fact. The white supremacists know that. It's their own people that are more likely to shoot at them and engage them in a firefight than a black person. Most black people know better than to try that. Okay? Oh, yes. And see, here's the thing. When it comes to what the brother Rashard Ritchie is saying here and this brother that's speaking, one thing that's going to have to be underscored and driven home to the younger people is that this is not a game. Yes, this is the most integrated society we've ever been in. But one of the most dangerous things, and see, this is where I blame the public food system at. The reason why they're trying to take all that history out of school, and I want y'all to really study what I'm about to tell you. The reason why they're trying to take the past racist history that was inflicted upon, or terrorism that was inflicted upon our people out of schools, is because they want easy targets that think that everything is okay. We all one human race. And hey, look, that was a long time ago. Don't worry about that problem. We still see the same things happening to our people today. So it's not a long time ago for black Americans. That's still our reality right now. And every black parent must make sure that your children understand it, especially if they're teenagers, okay? You have to let them understand exactly what they're dealing with. You can't sugarcoat it. See, a lot of white people will try that, all right? That's not a luxury that we have to ignore these things. And see, let me say something else, because I got to be clear with what happened to this sister here, lost 2 of her 3 children. Don't you understand that these white supremacist race soldiers use these targeted killings as initiation? I can see these sick bastards in a room saying, hey, look, you the new guy? You want to get in with the club? Go ahead and finish off another one of her kids. Oh, yeah, I'm saying it. I'm saying it. And can't nobody tell me that they're not having these conversations. Well, that's not a coincidence, family. You hear me? That is not a coincidence that they came back and did that. I guarantee you. See, this is why I'm not for that goofy gender banging. And salute to my first sergeant, some chick named Star in the house. I see you, good sister. This is why I'm not for that goofy gender banging, because, see, we going to need each other. You understand? I don't tell nobody else what to do on their platform, but for those that do that goofy gender banging, that's suicidal at this point. These people are trying to exterminate us. They're wiping out entire families of us. And see, that brings me back to the fools that are talking about vote blue no matter who would command me. You really think that it's a wise decision for you to support that? And I stick to my guns on what I said. She's not going to win. But I'm just talking about the mentality that's basically like the tree voting for the axe. You see what her record is. Forget all the goofy theatrics and antics that she's got going on. Look at her record. Look at her record, okay? This heifer here was in full agreement with the 94 crime bill and everything else. Y'all better deep dive on who she is, because many of us in new black media have combed tooth and nail through her record in the past. Shout out to Professor Black Truth and many others, okay, that have gone through this and tried to get this information to the intelligent black people to let them know that this is no friend of black people, just like Jim Crow Joe isn't, and the entire Democratic Party. And for the slow folks, no, that does not mean that's an endorsement of the Republicans, because you know there's always some nitwit. Well, what about the Republicans? Not what we're talking about. We're talking about this administration because they're in power. And just like that bastard Barack Obama, who signed those blue alert laws and the 1033 program, which militarized the police department with surplus military gear, none of them are doing anything to stop this, okay? They sit back while our young ones and our women are murdered like this, okay? So I just wanted to make sure I point that out, because where we're about to go, I'm going to tell you, I can understand if some of you are not going to want to hear this, but I need to show you the type of sambozos that we have joining these race soldier departments. And again, it's one that we're going to analyze, but I'm talking about the mentality as a whole. So it's not just the one person. In other words, I'm going to say it like this. When we get to that portion of the broadcast here shortly, these are the type of black people that you have to write off and throw away, because some of us are no earthly good, okay? And that's not something that you should be hesitant to say or ashamed of. Let me talk to my religious folks. Look, I believe in the Most High as well. Whatever religion you practice that makes you a better person, I have no problem with it. But one thing that we have to use is our common sense that the Most High gave us. And when something is rotten, you cast that aside from what's healthy. You don't keep healthy plants, you know what I'm saying, in a garden with rotten crops. You make a separation, you understand? And see, that's going to have to apply to some people in the black community, because we got to call it what it is. Some of these people belong to them. They have made their minds up that instead of standing up like grown men and women and fighting white supremacy for the sake of the children, if not yourself, they rather be pets to a system of white supremacy, thinking that master's going to spare them. No, he'll just try to save you for last, if that. A lot of times you may go first. But anyway, we'll get to that. Let it continue.
And the tragedy of it, you said it perfectly. The covering of this older brother was taken away, and this officer didn't lose anything except for a job, and probably can get another job at another police department because they don't value life. We saw Tamir Rice killer get a job at another police department, and he didn't get fired. The police chief that hired him chose to leave. So
that's right.
We know this dirty cycle, and now we're also seeing the ramifications. I am saddened for that family for sure.
Yep. Our thoughts, our prayers, positive vibration with the family.
Salute to my good brother, Dr. Rashard Ritchie, and the brother that was speaking. But yeah, I'm past the point of thoughts and prayers. I am. No, it's going to take more than thoughts and prayers. Pray and then prepare to act, because see, let me say something to the warrior class listening to the sound of my voice. There comes a time, and I think every man in here could probably relate to this, or at least most of you should. There comes a time where if you hurt a man to the point that he's going to shed tears, there comes a time when he doesn't have any more tears to shed. You understand? And at that point, well, whatever was the cause of that man's pain, you're going to have something coming to you. I think everybody understands what I mean when I say that, okay? So now, I got a question to ask before we get into the despicable part of the broadcast, because I'm going to light his ass up, but we're going to use him as a teaching tool. Due to my good sister, Mrs. L, for the cash out. Thank you very much, my sister. Let me ask everybody gathered here in my audience again, do all of you understand what a post certification is? P-O-S-T certification, okay? P-O-S-T. Peace Officers Standards and Training. Do y'all know what that certification is? I spoke about it on the last broadcast because, see, I want to do a temperature check in here to see how many people in here. There might be some former or current law enforcement in here. But I wonder if everybody understands what that post certification is. Because, see, the reason I'm bringing that up, I need you to understand that that's how the race soldiers, as our Grandmaster Teacher and Elder Neely Fuller Jr. has taught us, they don't get fired, they get transferred. See, as long as a race soldier has that post certification intact, yeah, he can get fired. That's no problem. He can just go to the next county over and get another job. Okay? I'm saying that to say this. On the black grassroots, we have to start stomping and see, watch this. When we start doing this as a collective nationwide, when you start saying, hey, look, it's not enough just to lock them up and punish them. We got to start permanently stripping that post certification. That way you cannot practice law enforcement nowhere in all 50 states of this country. You strip that post certification away, that's half your problem solved right there. And it should be removed if you got infractions where, like, again, I brought up the situation where that young brother was punched in the face while he was in handcuffs. We got to keep our eye on and see what happened with that situation. Because, see, let me say this to these little bastards that run around here, call yourself gangbanging. You got all the energy in the world for other rappers trying to rob them and run up on them for that nonsense, but you won't bring that to these race soldiers, huh? If you're going to crash out, how about you crash out for your people? Oh, yeah, I said it. It needed to be said. How about you crash out for this sister we looking at right here on the screen, Sonia Massey, huh? This woman's children, you think about how that would be, having to explain that to her children that you're not going to see your mother no more. I saw her oldest son speaking, man. That did something to me, man. I just can't explain. Family, we must, those of us who are adults, we must do everything in our power to prevent this from happening in the future, especially to our young ones. Huh? How many of you remember what happened to Elijah McClain? Because, see, I bring that up because his last words were, I'm sorry. Also, that really, because that was a good kid, man. He didn't do anything to anybody. And for them to brutally murder him like that, the way they did, nah, I don't know about y'all, but I'm not going to put up with too much more of that. Oh, no. We're going to do everything that we can on the legislative end and whatever other end we need to do. Because, see, let's be clear. This whole, you just going to spill our people's blood like that and we just going to take it? No, not all of us are going to take it. Not all of us are going to take it. You better start understanding that we love our families the same way you do. So, family, I said that to prepare you for what you're about to see next, because a lot of you in here are not going to believe this. A lot of you probably think that there's hope for some black people. A lot of you probably think that some black folks can be reasoned with. I'm here to tell you, like the old saying goes, all skin folk are not kinfolk. But we must examine this here tonight to get the lesson from it. And we must also teach young black teenagers that you come across these Negroes like what we're about to review here, there's no reason with them. Get away from them. Look at them just like you would a white supremacist race soldier, because some of them are worse. You know why? I've said this many times as well. It's not the gang member that you should be most afraid of. It's the wannabe gang member, okay? That's the one that you have something to worry about, because that bastard or bastress will do anything to become a part of that gang. You understand? Y'all gonna see what we're talking about here. We're gonna go ahead and get started with this analysis.
Full mass. Civil rights lawyer John H. Bryan gave a breakdown of the events of the shooting, referencing the body cam of both cops. At 1:20 and 44 seconds, switching to Deputy Grace's body cam, we can see that at this time, the first time being told to drop the effing pot, Sonia raises her hands in the air and says, I'm sorry. You can see that image there. We made a still for your review. Zooming in, we can see Sonia is not holding the pot.
that she's being ordered at gunpoint to drop. These are facts. The pot is on the stove, clearly seen. And Sonia has oven mitts in her hands, clearly seen. She also appears to be covering her ears and afraid. And Grayson shouts at her, "Drop the effing pot." The civil rights lawyer notes 120 and 45. Sonia ducks down. At this moment, you hear the other deputy draw his pistol. He also yells at Sonia, "Drop the pot." So now 2 cops are screaming at her to drop a pot she's not holding. Ladies and gentlemen, these are facts. 2 cops are screaming at her to drop a pot she is not holding. We have the evidence, okay? Go to the next one. At 1:20, 45 seconds. Switching back to Deputy Grayson's body cam at that exact second, you can clearly see conclusively that Sonia did not take the pot with her when she ducked down. It's still sitting on the counter. This is a zoomed in screenshot of that same still, showing the pot is not in Sonia's possession. As she is ducking down in fear and confusion, she was undergoing a mental health crisis, thinking a prowler was at the home. 1:20:46. Let's switch back to Grayson's body cam, which has a better view. When the other deputy joins Grayson in aiming their guns at Sonia and shouting at her, "Drop the pot that she's not holding." Once again, there's the pot. It's circled for you. Let's speed up 1 second. Now I'm at 1:20 and 47 seconds. Deputy Grayson then begins to advance forward towards Sonia Massey, who has not moved from her position. She is ducking down on her kitchen floor as if she's somehow the perpetrator. Grayson is the one who begins to move. Instead of away from a perceived threat, he moves towards Sonia. Okay? 1:20:47, switching back to Deputy Grayson's body cam. This is what he saw, which appears to be Sonia Massey going from being crouched with no pot to reaching up, grabbing the pot, mitt still on her hands, and then holding the pot over her head. Could it be that she grabbed the pot, held it over her head because they kept telling her to drop the pot, drop the pot, drop the pot that she did not have in her hands?
I'm going to answer my good brother, Dr. Rashard Richie's question. The answer is yes, because see, ladies in particular and young black people, I want you to listen to what I'm about to tell you here. That's a dirty tactic these demonic race soldiers will use. They will yell conflicting commands at you to try to scare you into doing something where they can say, well, see, I had to shoot him. This is what they do. This is how despicable they are. And see, we've said it many times. What reason was it for you to come in the home when she called you about a prowler outside the home? You don't think, I mean, just common sense would tell you that, okay, if she's saying there's a prowler out there, regardless of the situation she was dealing with her mental health, what reason was it for you to go inside the home? You don't think she would have been in there if the prowler was in there? It makes no sense. But see, the reason why they did that, one, and again, this is not to blame my sister for her death, but they have different energy when there's men there, because a brother would have been like, hey, let me talk to you out here. If it would have had to come to the point where they had to be called about some situation like that. Moses, straight-laced black alpha men, okay, or Sigmas, we wouldn't have had to call no police to deal with no prowler. But see, here's the thing. They did that to intimidate her. They came there talking to her like she was, less than human. Y'all heard it. I played that portion on the previous broadcast when I was discussing this. And then they kept talking to her like she was less than human. And see, the race soldier that was with him, I agree, he needs to be charged because, see, one of them two lied on the phone call that I played y'all, talking about the wound was self-inflicted. and the race soldier didn't even try to de-escalate or stop his partner from shooting. There's no reason to draw no guns on that woman inside her home. A professional cop, one that's not a coward, would have said, you know what? Hey, all right. She having an episode or whatever, we can go outside. And just inform her, hey, man, well, if that's what's going on, let's just say worst case scenario, she was actually trying to throw a pot of water on them. Okay? Hey, man, we're not going to come back on this call no more if that's what's going on. End of discussion. What you got to be inside her home trying to impose your will on her? But see, that's what a white supremacist race soldier does. Because see, you got to look at something about these little spineless cowards. These are the little punks that were in school that, you know, are trying to get revenge on the blacks because people roasted them or they got picked on or they might have lost the fight. Still carrying that childhood trauma. And the best thing they can do is join the damn race soldier department. I'm going to get the blacks back. That's exactly the mindset that they have. You understand? But see, I guarantee you, I'm going to say it again. Said the last broadcast when I covered this. Had this been a little old white lady, oh no, none of this would have never happened. They wouldn't have treated her like that at all, especially if they would have said that she was having a mental health episode. Hell, she could have charged towards them with a kitchen knife. They still wouldn't have tried to engage her. They would have engaged in de-escalation tactics because we see they know how to do that when it's their own people. And the ironic thing about it, if anybody's going to harm them since they use the air quotes, I fear for my life expression, it's going to be their own people. Think I'm lying about that? I tell you what, those of you that are on my Patreon, because they probably won't let me get away with showing it here on YouTube, all you got to do and look up for yourself, Deputy Kyle Dinkiller in 1998. Yeah, go look at the body cam footage of what happened to him because they have that complacency about their own people. But boy, when it's a black person, and this is because of the white supremacist indoctrination, they've been conditioned to think that every time you see a black person, just like in a movie, so that's the bad guy. When reality points to it, and the stats show that, hey, it's your own people that are mostly shooting at your police officers. So I just had to point that out. We're going to let this continue because I'm glad that Dr. Rashard Ritchie pointed this out because it's really going to make sense once he gets later into this discussion that he's about to have with this damn Sambo here. Let's let it continue.
2048, switching again to the other deputy's body cam now. After Grayson shoots Massey, who did not threaten to throw water on anyone, you see what appears to be steaming water hit the officer's chair at lower left of the kitchen floor. That's when you saw water. CBS News previously reported Grayson pleaded guilty twice to DUI prior to becoming a cop. He served at 6 different departments in 4 years, and that he was discharged from the U.S. Army in 2016.
See, this is where taking that post certification comes into play because see, as long as he's post certified, they can hop from department to department like that. And see, the law needs to be changed where if you coming out of the military for dishonorable conduct, you don't need to be in charge of no law enforcement. You're unfit to do that. You're unfit. That should be included with a dishonorable discharge because anybody that's former military know if you get that dishonorable discharge, you lose your right to bear arms. I mean, it's a lot you can't do with that. That's the one thing you do not want coming out of the military. They should include in that you lose your right to be in law enforcement too. It shouldn't be okay. You just gonna hopscotch over from being a fuck up in the military to now being a race soldier where you can target black people because you're a failure. Look at this bastard, man. I know why he couldn't cut it in whatever branch of the armed services he was in. You can tell he's a goofy, man, a little goober. A failure in his own community. Because see, let's go ahead and get this out here too. Most of the white American community, they look at the race soldiers as trash. All that black, back to blue stuff, that's only for when they harm us. That's not an honorable job. They look at them like somebody would look at a trash man. And not that there's anything wrong with a trash man job. I'm just letting you know, point of reference, in their community, they look at that as, oh, you down on the low totem pole, okay? That's how white supremacists see that. Don't let all that back to blue fool you. White people cannot stand the race soldiers. They only like them when they're inflicting terrorism upon black people. Let it continue.
From the Fort Riley Army installation in Kansas for serious misconduct. They refused to name the exact nature of the misconduct, only called it serious. One of the incidents in which Grayson is accused of having trouble obeying orders.
Excellent question, Mrs. L, because see, I don't think he got a dishonorable discharge. They said it was something about negative conduct. He should have got a dishonorable discharge. That would have solved that problem. So like you're right. If he had gotten it, he wouldn't have been able to get that job. Okay. I don't think there's any type of waiver for it either, last I checked. But like they're being very secretive about exactly what his misconduct in the military was. But whatever it was enough to get him kicked out. And see, I'm glad you brought that question though too, because see, when it comes to like military regulations, if you're doing something that is just purely egregious, they will slap that dishonorable discharge on you quick, especially if you black. But see, with their own people, oh, they'll coddle them. Oh boy, they'll pull all kinds of strings to keep from having to hit them with it, because they know that is and look, here's the other thing too. All my fellow veterans in here, you can attest to this. You know, you get that dishonorable discharge, or you can forget about getting any veterans benefits. Oh no, you don't get that. Y'all, I'll tell you what. Everybody in here, you do your homework on that. Look up what comes with getting a dishonorable discharge. Oh yeah, that you don't want that. So you know we really need to find out exactly what he was doing in there, because it's gonna come out. Somebody's gonna get that information. I'm gonna be looking for it myself, and if any of you find it before me, let me know, because I wonder what was his misconduct in the military. This man was unfit to serve there. He damn sure shouldn't have been on anybody's police force. Let it continue.
Happening during his 5th police job with the Logan County Sheriff's Office, where he worked from May 2022 to April 2023. Grayson refused an order by a superior to terminate a high-speed chase in the state, 121 over traffic infraction in which his speed at times reached 110 miles per hour. He was putting other people in danger. He refused a direct order. Grayson told his superiors he was about to terminate the pursuit, but he did not. Audio recordings obtained by CBS News also show superior officers were worried about Grayson's behavior. In a recording released by the Logan County Sheriff's Office, where Grayson worked from May 2022 to April 2023, a supervising officer is heard admonishing Grayson for what the senior officer said was his lack of integrity, for lying on his police reports, and for what he calls official misconduct.
Now, see, that right there, that's something that we got to start pushing for. If you lying on a police report, that should be automatic revocation of your post certification, okay? That should be automatic revocation of your post certification status. Automatic. What you lying on a police report for? See, that means you are definitely unfit to do that job. A police report, that is a legal document. You understand? If you lying on it, how can you be trusted to protect and serve? And yes, we all know that legally they're really not, obligated to stop crime or protect you. I mean, y'all go look up that Supreme Court case. That's on the dockets, okay? Which is something else that needs to be addressed in this country of white folks, and everybody has sense. This whole thing about, okay, you getting all this federal funding, Jim Crow Joe Biden, I'm gonna fund them. Okay, well, if you're getting all this funding, the first thing that you should be in line to do is actually protect the public whose taxpayer dollars are funding your salaries. What are we giving them all of this money for if you're not legally obligated to protect people and stop crime? See, that's something that it's going to take Gen X, millennials, and Gen Z to get into these positions, okay, in Congress and the Senate, okay, local politics across the board, the judicial system, and start saying, listen, we finna update these laws to fit society across the board. When it comes to everything about how taxpayer dollars are spent, the people need to have more of a say-so. We don't have enough of a say-so when it comes to things like this, because see, anybody in their right frame of mind, no matter what race you are, if you got sense, you should not want any officer on a police or force that's lying on his police reports. But see, this is race soldier behavior, and they coddle that amongst themselves, which is why we call them race soldiers. They're not police, they're rogue race soldiers. Let's let it continue.
The sheriff and I will not tolerate lying or deception, he says in the recording. The officer tells him in the audio recording of a November 2022 meeting obtained by CBS News. At one point, the supervising officer warns Grayson that officers like you have been charged and they end up in jail, end quote. And that's exactly where his ass is at. Now, let's talk about it openly. On the panel, I have Leon Taylor, Master Sergeant, United States Air Force, retired with over 20 years of experience, also a retired Baltimore police officer. And we have Officer Brandon Tatum, a former member of SWAT, CEO of 3 companies, and he is known for his YouTube channel talking about police conduct.
Let me warn you right now, the level of sambosery you're about to see is going to trigger you, ladies and gentlemen, but we must discuss this because this is an example of the mindset. The black agents of the Blue Klux Klan, and I'm not just talking about Tatum tots here, okay, little tater tot head bastard. And yes, for the record, I'm going to go here with it because it does matter. It's a lot of people that get kind of squeamish when you go here. He's married to one of them alabastresses. Yes, he is. Yes, Becky. He chasing Becky. Look, I don't care what nobody say. When you over there laying up with them folks, whether it's an alabastress, okay, or Brad, we got to give you the side eye when it comes to things like this because, see, definitely you going to start to take their worldview on things and see, if you're not familiar with who Brandon Tatum is, you're about to see exactly why I said what I said about him. This bastard been cooning for a long time. This bastard is dangerous to black society. He should not be around any black American youth. But see, there's more than one Brandon Tatum out here. Oh, yes, there are. Because see, when you look at what happened to that brother down in Memphis at the hands of those 5 black officers, oh, yeah, they got the same mindset that I just said here in the title of this broadcast in the thumbnail. They auditioning to be pets of the race soldiers because they actually think because they got that damn uniform on that they one of them, and they're not. Unfortunately, we have some of them in our community, whether they're police officers or not. I want y'all to listen to this discussion because we're going to break several things down that they're about to talk about here. I'm not going to miss any words when we get started.
Thank you both for being on the program.
Thanks for having us.
Okay. Here's what I want to do. Officer Tatum, you have taken the position that this police officer is justified. I would like you to explain your position, then I'm going to go to our other panelists for their opinion. What say you?
All right, so I want to make sure we're clear here. Justification is not, is he justified in the death of this young lady? Justification is the justified use of force. So I don't condone any of his actions.
Let me cut this bastard off right here. That's double speak. That's double speak, family. I want you to understand double speak when you hear it. If he wasn't justified to take her life, he didn't have the justification to use deadly force. There were several alternatives that people who have never served a day in the military or police or any type of police force would recommend. One, you didn't have to go in the house. If you were in there, couple options. Let's run through them again. You so concerned about a fire getting started because we heard that on the video. Well, you got 2 options. Either tell her to turn the pot off and ma'am come immediately back over here, or you, hey ma'am, is it okay? I'd like to go turn this off while we talking to you. You send your partner to turn it off, and then you come back and talk to her. Always several ways this could have been avoided. No, there's no justification, Brandon Tatum, you cowardly son of a bitch, you. I'm gonna call you exactly what you are. Because see, a lot of times, and see, this is where the tether class comes in at too. A lot of times they will hear this double speak because they borrow this from the white supremacists, because that's all he's doing is parroting their talking points. You can't say that you don't agree with what he did, but then you saying that he was justified in using lethal force and shooting this woman in the face 6 times? 6 times. Family, y'all not gonna believe this. Y'all got to hear it out of his own mouth to actually understand how far gone and rotten some of these bastards are that are amongst us. Let's let it continue.
Before the shooting, I don't think that he's a great officer with great reputation, and I'm not supporting him whatsoever. I'm saying that the use of force when she lunged at the police officers with the pot, the use of deadly force was appropriate and justified in that particular instance.
Well, say.
Now I'm gonna pause it right here because I'm gonna stop this briefly. I'm not sure who Tommy Love is here, but I got a question to ask you there, brother. You got in all caps in my chat room, and my moderators, y'all let them know that we don't type in all caps over here. That's reserved for the host. But you asked a question. You said, who are you voting for? Now I have a question for you. What the hell does that have to do with anything? And you gonna answer too. What does who are you voting for have to do with anything that I'm talking about here tonight? You got the right broadcast to come over here with that shield Billy nonsense, okay? I don't care which party you're part of. But in case you knew, let me say this. I'm politically independent. I'm not loyal to a Democrat. I'm loyal to policy and my people over party. So I'm gonna give you a second to answer that question, Tommy Love. You talking about who you're voting for. Well, what does that have to do with what we're discussing here tonight? Better yet, let me ask my audience, family. Those of you that have been here since the start of this broadcast, what does voting have to do with what we're discussing here tonight? Does anybody think voting have anything to do with what we're discussing? But see, I'm making a point with this. I'm giving you a couple of seconds, Tommy Lord, to explain this to us, because maybe you have a valid reason. This is your chance to explain it to the audience, because I'm wondering if my audience sees the relevance in talking about voting right now with this particular issue. Because maybe you have something relevant to say. I'm being serious. I'm not being sarcastic. Tommy Love, you got a couple of seconds to answer before I'm going to have my moderators go ahead and permanently ban you. See, because we don't play them games over here, all right? One thing that I do not tolerate on any of my platforms is when we discuss the serious business, you come over here with that goofy trolling. One of my moderators, go ahead and ban Tommy Love. Because, see, I don't believe in repeating myself. You're going to come over here with that goofiness and you a shield Billy for whichever party, Republicans or Democrats, you on the wrong channel. Go ahead and unsubscribe from here. Y'all, what I tell them over here, if you come over here with that shield Billy nonsense, hey, nah, this ain't the place for you. We don't play that. We don't play the gender banging or other nonsense, okay? Who you voting for in all caps? Ridiculous, man. See, I'm going to tell you something, though. I'm going to say this before we get back to this lesson over here. Those of you that's running around talking, oh, who did you vote for? Who you voting for? I tell you what, them people going to show you better than I can tell you that nonsense where you a shield for either party, it's not going to protect you. You're going to be in a situation where you're going to get your Sean Grayson that runs up to your doorstep, or Amber Geiger or Derek Chauvin. And then let's see you talk to them about voting. If that's a race soldier that's trying to get their initiation, let's see you tell them about who you voted for and see if that'll turn them away. I'm going to tell y'all, family, you got to be at peace. Some people just not going to make it, and we got to be okay with that. Some folks just not going to make it. Let's let it continue.
Say that again.
That when she lunged at the police officers with the pot of boiling water, that Grayson was justified in using deadly force against her.
Okay. So in your, I guess, estimation of what happened, she violently attacked the officer.
No, I didn't say she violently attacked the officer. She picked up the pot and she threw it in the direction of both officers, and out of fear of serious bodily injury, which is a part of the statute requirement, they can utilize deadly force to deter that threat. And that's what Grayson did in that instance, and that's why I believe it's justified.
You know, I could go back and forth with you. I'm going to allow the panelists to opine on this because I'm sure he has something to say. Officer, what say you?
Well, it's interesting. You know, you can't legislate morality, that's for certain. But in all of this, I'm still trying to understand why they're inside the house. It makes no sense to me. If the original call was for a burglar or a suspected prowler, once they've ascertained that that's not the case, why do they need to go inside? They already know that she possibly has mental health issues. To my mind, to my way of thinking, once they established they've satisfied the requirements of the original call, you check on her, ask if she's all right. It's time to code the call to go back in service.
I agree with that, brother, 100%. But see, that's too much like right to intelligent Black people and those of us that actually love our community. Because see, I was talking about this with a family member earlier. In situations, since they got all this funding, because you know they keep throwing money at them left and right, okay? They got to have all this funding. They get as much funding as they damn need, okay, from both parties. Okay, since you got all these funds, this is the way that should work. If there's a call and it's known that the individual that you're going out on that call has mental health issues, then there should be at least 2, maybe 3 mental health professionals coming with officers, and the mental health professionals should be in charge of how to navigate that situation. And the officers are there just for backup, okay, just in case they don't take any actions unless the mental health professional instructs them to. That's the way. How many of y'all think that's a good idea? Because I know what I said is too much like right, because see, we're all about solutions over here. What do y'all think about what I just proposed there? Because see, that's something that needs to be pushed for when either politician comes around seeking our votes. Okay? And for the Tommy Loves and whoever's still listening, we are not loyal to either party over here. Some people are gonna vote for Trump. Some people are gonna vote the couch. You actually do have options, okay? We're not loyal to party. We loyal to policy and our people overall. But how many of y'all think that that's a good idea? All this funding that they have, should they not be required to have mental health professionals engage or be present and take the lead on dealing with those situations? Because see, let's go even further with it. Had that been the law or that would be the requirement, okay, the mental health professionals speak with the sister, and if anybody had to go inside, let them go in. And then you're the officers called there about a prowler. You survey the perimeter, make sure there's nothing around there out of place. And then, hey, you know what I'm saying? Everything could have been handled, been no problems. How many of y'all think that's a good idea? Because, see, that's something we need to start pushing for. See, in other words, what I'm saying, if somebody has a better idea, let it be known. But the bottom line is when things are going this way, it cannot stay the same. We cannot become comfortable saying, well, that's just the way it is. Oh, no, hell. Oh, no, this is not. Look, let me say it plainly. It is not going to become a normalized thing where we just losing our loved ones over senseless acts like this. Oh, no. Because, see, once they get you conditioned to accept that type of loss of life in that violent manner as normal, you're on your way to extinction as a people. You understand me? And see, this is where it comes in for the men of the community to stand up with an unbroken spirit and say, we are not going to cower down in fear, and we're not going to accept this. And either politician from either party that comes seeking our votes, you're going to have to address this anti-black hate crime bill and these reparations. Don't ask me for my vote when you do all these things for other people. You got the Asian, they got an anti-Asian hate crime bill. You're doing all these other things for these other people, but when you come to me, you're just supposed to grin and tap dance and shuck and jive in front of me, and I'm supposed to give you my hard-earned vote, okay? No. It's going to be policy over nonsense from now on in our community. Let's let it continue.
There's a dispute, obviously, of her malicious intent. I don't think there was any malicious intent whatsoever. I believe this woman was in fear of her life. I think she was being told very confusing things in a confused state. And she was then shot and killed. Officer Tatum, I want to go back to you and pose some questions that other cops have posed, similar to what you just heard. There's a white female cop who went on record pretty quickly in uniform and talked about how this officer in particular should have never been a cop, and then she gets into the conduct after this happened. Tatum, why did he lie to his colleagues?
You're talking about in the former incident?
Well, he's been lying. I'm not even talking about the other incidents where we know he lied on police reports, which is official misconduct, violation of oath of office, et cetera. I'm talking about this time. As soon as his colleagues arrived, he told a narrative of an aggressive, violent individual. As a matter of fact, he said she was a crazy B word. All right. That's unprofessional, naturally, but it goes to his state of mind, dear brother. In a court of law, that goes to.
Keep in mind, I showed you on the previous broadcast where I initially addressed this. I played for you to call where someone, it sounded like Sean Grayson, despicable race soldier bastard, may that cancer tear your ass out the frame. It sounded like him or his partner or somebody called in that it was a self-inflicted wound. I'll go catch my previous broadcast on there to hear that call. So I just want to put that on your mind as well. But see, notice Brandon Tatum, little old beanie baby head ass, he ain't talking about that. Despicable Sambo coward that he is, he ain't gonna bring that up at all. I wish Dr. Rashard Ritchie would have remembered to bring that up as well, but I want y'all to listen to what Brandon Tatum is about to say in response to Dr. Rashard Ritchie here.
State of mind. If you believe you're dealing with a crazy B word rather than a person experiencing either A, a mental health crisis, or B, a possible victim of a potential crime, it goes to your state of mind.
Well, I don't think that's going to end up being relevant in this case, but I do think it was reprehensible for someone to speak
Why don't
like
you
that.
think it's relevant in this case when it's already been deemed relevant? That's why he got indicted.
It's not going to be relevant. They indicted him, in my opinion, because they wanted to stop the riots from happening. They didn't want people to lose their mind over this shooting that was very emotional. In the court of law, this is going to be a self-defense.
Do you hear this son of a bitch right here? And I got to call him what he is. Because see, family, let me tell you something. And I've said this many times. I'm not the only one that has said it. When our people left them plantations, a lot of people came with us that shouldn't have made it. I'm gonna explain what I mean by that. The people that was on the plantations, when we was trying to escape our ancestors and they was going to tell Massey, okay, some of them should have been dealt with the minute that we got our freedom. Because I'm gonna tell you why they wasn't dealt with and they went on to reproduce little bastards like this. A black person with a soul would not be talking like this. And if they had decided to riot, they would be justified. Martin Luther King said that riots are the language of the unheard. Our Queen Mother and ancestor there, Fannie Lou Hamer, said that, hey, listen, if we can't have it, you're not going to have it either, and we're going to tear it up. We've had to prove this to them time after time in this country. In fact, for Tommy Love, if you're listening, I don't know how much you know about history. Most of the rights that we have, it didn't come from us voting. Do you know that, Tommy Love, if you still listening? Because you won't be coming no more under that account. You won't. Most of the rights we have as foundational Black American freedmen here, and the rights that other people have come over here unappreciatively, we got that from hitting foot to pavement and putting foot to ass when need be. Huh? That's how we got most of the rights that we have. That's how we keep most of the rights that we have. A black person with a soul would not be sitting here with a straight face making any kind of argument to justify this. But this one is, and see, family, let me tell you something. Some of you know a Brandon Tatum. You may not know him personally, but you know a Brandon Tatum personality. It could be friends, it could be family. You better stay away from these Negroes. You got to cut them off. These people are suicidal. They're dangerous. Let me further expound on what I mean when I say dangerous. You better understand that during the time when all those hangings were just mysteriously happening, they was talking about black people was killing themselves by hanging, knowing that most black people can't tie no knot and we not gonna commit suicide by no hanging. Who's to say it wasn't bastards like this helping set them up? See, we got to start looking at it that way. This is a threat within our community. You understand? You got other content creators that call these people like this son of a bitch here, they good buddies, huh? Oh yeah, I'm going there. Some of you probably know who I'm talking about. Oh yeah. All you got to do is just look at this channel, celebrity junk and all this other bullshit. My good buddy, Brandon Tatum. See, let me tell you something. Some of these coons and sambozos, man, they roll in packs, okay? Birds of a feather flock together, and coons of the same striped tail, together they will not fail to be, okay? They're going to be hoarded up together. So this cooning is not some harmless thing. It's not a difference of opinion when you talking like this. This woman lost her life senselessly in her own home because she called for help. And this jughead bastard gonna sit up here and defend this. I want y'all to listen to this because, see, this is a sickness that cannot be cured. We have to cut these people off away from our community, family. This is serious business. I want y'all to listen to the rest of what he's about to say here.
Defense argument. So Grayson is going to argue that he acted in self-defense, and that's the only thing that's going to be on the table. His previous
Why didn't his
behavior
partner respond the same way then?
Well, I think first of all, their tactics were terrible. His partner was in a very difficult position to do anything. He almost shot Grayson in the back. So these cops had a lot of things that they did incorrectly, and their tactics were horrible. And I think that's why both of them didn't respond in the same manner. But I think this is going to be a self-defense argument. That's what I'm saying in the court. Not what I feel, not what anybody else thinks, not how horrible this was. It was sad to see the woman lose her life like that.
Of course he's going to make a self-defense argument if he's pleading not guilty.
No, but that's going to be the argument. Is he's going to argue self-defense, and the prosecution is going to have to prove that he wasn't acting in self-defense beyond a reasonable doubt.
Yeah, we know that.
The burden of proof is not going to be. They're not going to be sufficient in this, given the fact
that's
that
why we have fact checkers called jury members. But let me get this correct. Tatum, you're saying that these cops did everything wrong. They broke protocol. they are bad cops. You don't agree with their actions, but the only thing they got right was killing that woman.
No, that's not what I'm saying whatsoever.
That's basically what you're saying.
I don't think that both cops did everything wrong. I think that Grayson did a lot of things wrong. I would have liked to have seen.
Wrong. They both did things wrong. Because see, the minute that he went to reach for his firearm, his partner was supposed to say, hey man, what the hell are you doing? Put that down. This is not a situation where we need to pull a firearm on anybody. See, you got to think back to Uvalde, Texas, why I called them cowards. It took one lone ATF officer to go in there and save them kids. And I think that was a Hispanic guy because he could relate to them more than likely. One guy. And they out there like the Keystone Cops and Barney Fire. I'm not going in there. You got all this superior weaponry. You got radio backup. You got a SWAT team you can call. And y'all sitting out there hiding when these kids are in there screaming and pleading for somebody to help them. Yet they keep praising them like they have such a dangerous job and they're talking about how courageous they are. No, you're not. No, you're not. Because, see, let me tell you something, man. You got foundational Black American freedmen men in this chat room right now and non-LBA men in this chat room right now. That whether we're armed or not, if we hear children calling for our help, we're going to save those children, damn it. We're going to do whatever it needs we need to do to protect them children. But these jokers got all kinds of body armor, everything I just named before, and they were scared to go in there. So now you fast forward to this situation with this little bastard right here, steadily trying to double speak and defend this nonsense that we saw on camera. See, when a Negro is able to do that, they're so far gone to the point that not only do they not value the lives of other Black people, they don't care about themselves. Because see, in his mind, he don't understand that just because you was a part of the police force, you could be next. That's what's going to have to happen to somebody like him and those like him. They're going to have to get that wake-up call where the race soldiers bust up in their house. Because see, watch this. Let me, for the people that's like, that would never happen. Just don't commit crimes. Okay. What's to stop anybody from saying, okay, Brandon Tatum, we're going to call in a fake swatting call on your house. Huh? Oh, yeah. See, they don't like it when you talk like that. What happens if somebody swats you, Brandon Tatum, and they show up to your house guns blazing? Because somebody said, what? You got a hostage or some nonsense like that, and they show up to your crib in the middle of the night. You know, kind of like they did our sister Breonna Taylor. You don't think that could be you, Negro? Don't worry, though. The ancestors are watching, and they are active. Your time is coming. Let's let it continue.
Him de-escalate in that situation. I would have liked to have seen, him do a lot of things differently. Even after he shot her, I would like to see them at least give an attempt to render aid, even though they wasn't going to be able to
once again,
properly render aid. But I think that being a bad cop doesn't mean that you're not justified in defending yourself against a person hurling boiling water. I think that's what it's going to end up coming down to.
Yeah, I didn't see a hurling of boiling water.
He did. I sent your staff the video that I did. I think we're sending over now. It's a video that I did where I put it in slow motion and I show the trajectory of the pod and the way the water went out and it hit a table. I mean, it hit like a chair and the floor. And so you can see.
Do you hear this despicable son of a bitch? Because see what he doing, I've seen the video that he talking about. The white supremacists done slowed this down, trying to say, see, she was throwing water at him. Okay, now, family, let's use common sense. If you got a boiling pot of water on the stove and you're going to dash it at somebody, you're going to have to be pretty close to dash the water. That wouldn't even make any sense if she was trying to do that. But you saw Dr. Rashard Ritchie break that down frame by frame. This woman went like she was charging running at them with a pot of water dashing on. See, when you start defending that white supremacist nonsense, you belong to them. You belong to them. I see, this is why I do not call everybody in our community a brother or sister. Everybody is not worthy of that regal and upstanding honorable term. When you say brother or sister, that's a familial term. That's an honorable term. I don't refer to everybody as a brother or sister in the community because this bastard right here, he is not one of us.
That the water was hurled and propelled in their direction, and that's when he pulled the trigger and shot her. Listen, if she hadn't thrown that water, I think that these cops would, well, at least the Grayson would have not have been justified, and he would have gotten charged correctly. But I think when she threw that water, he's going to have a justification in the necessity to use deadly force in his self-defense, the defense of himself and his partner. I got to go to Officer
Taylor. Officer Taylor, what say you to that?
Well, I understand the law and I understand self-defense. And, every day in this country, officers respond to these sort of calls. And I've never heard of hot water being used as a weapon that justifies the use of deadly force. To my way of thinking, they could have mitigated the whole thing. Number one, they didn't have to be inside the residence with her. That's number one. Number two, if they were going to be in the residence, you've got an officer primary and you got a backup officer. If you're so concerned about the possibility of a fire breaking out, and you have this woman who you've already established has mental issues, she's seated. Why not have your partner go and turn the pot off? If it's that big of a deal. Again, I still don't understand why they were both inside the residence asking for her ID.
I can explain.
They're trying to run her for warrants or whatever.
I can explain that. I can explain that. I agree with you that when you look at it after the fact, there's some things that I wish that they would have done differently. But it wasn't unlawful to be in her house at the time of this incident. It seems that when they...
Do you hear this? Listen to this serpent here that's talking about it wasn't unlawful. See, look, whether it was lawful or not, what sense did it make? See, you should have to pass a competency test to be a police officer in this country. If you called about a prowler outside of a home, what are you doing in the home? Huh? No reason to be in there whatsoever. And see, family, let me tell you something. I understand that we're in different times, but I implore all of you listening to the sound of my voice tonight, wherever you are in this nation, in your community, you got to find like-minded brothers and sisters that are decent and upstanding. Even if you don't do nothing from time to time, but throw little get-togethers, barbecues, whatever you're going to do, and start discussing these things so that when there's tragedy or any type of threat to the community, you can call your neighbors, okay? I understand we're in a different time. There's a lot of people out here that you cannot trust. I get it. But we got to find the ones that we can and make sure that people like Sonia Massey know people in the community that, hey, brother, I think it's something going on over here. Could you come over here and check this out? Or better yet, because I don't know, what type of male family member she has, but we got to get to that point. That's how we used to be. We're going to have to get back to that because this is about survival now. Because, see, I'm going to tell you something else. I'm going to go here with it, and I wish Dr. Rashard Ritchie would have asked him this. The reason why Brandon Tatum is defending it so much is because he would have did the same thing to that sister. Do you understand that? Does everybody in here think that that's a far stretch for me to say what I just said? If Brandon Tatum was that officer or one of them in that situation, he would have did the same thing. How many of y'all can see it, family? Huh? Let me know. Am I off base saying that? Am I off base saying that? How many of you think that if he went on that call, he would have reacted the same way that the race soldier did? That's why he's defending that like that. Let's let it continue.
First engaged with her, it was a call the night before of her struggling with mental illness. That's why Officer Grayson, a Deputy Grayson asked her, was she still struggling with mental illness, because she was kind of being erratic. So on a call that's a prowler call, you have the right to investigate the call and get information from the person who's calling so that you can rectify it, because she did seem like she was struggling from a mental illness encounter. She was also on the phone with another deputy. It seemed like they were trying to get her mental illness situation, I guess put into check, which everything was going fine. They were having a reasonable conversation. They were laughing and joking.
Reasonable conversation? No. See, I ain't gonna let him get away with that. You're not gonna use when they came in the house and just skip the part that when they showed up, hurry up and come to the door. You taking too long to get here. Y'all saw that for yourself. Y'all saw that for yourself. You already started out on the wrong foot, dismissive of the thing, of the call that you went on with this woman, huh? But see, I'll tell you something. Sisters, you better understand. And again, I understand everybody's situation is different. Had that been a house full of black men there, or even just two, energy would have been totally different. I promise you that. Because the brothers would have been like, hey, man, hold on. Wait a minute. What you got to come in here for? You got a warrant? We're going to ask some questions. First and foremost, we're not trying to call them around anyway. And see, this is another reason why I say this current administration here under Jim Crow Joe Biden, okay, and the Biden-Harris administration, a lot of this nonsense that they pushing where they want to strip the masculinity from the Black American community, that's a dangerous thing, brothers and sisters. We are not in a time where we can afford to have the masculinity stripped from our community, because the leadership and the protection of the community falls upon us. It does. I get it. A lot of our sisters, some of you have had to be tough enough to take care of yourselves. But at the end of the day, that is not your natural position to be out front doing that by yourself. We, those of us that actually care about our community and are actual men, we're going to have to stand up and take the reins on that and push back against any party that tries to promote lack of masculinity, tries to promote gender confusion, and all of this nonsense that's not conducive to a stable, healthy Black family and or a Black community. We're going to have to reject that because our very lives depend on it. And that means all that goofy gender warring as well, okay? But I want y'all to finish listening to what this Sambo about to say here, because if you think so far what you heard him say is unbelievable, you ain't heard nothing yet. Let it continue.
Even when she went to the stove, they kind of were joking before she said, "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus." And so I think that that's where the storyline is going to go in the court of law. They're going to say that everything was fine. Nobody was being intense. Nobody was violating laws. They were acting within the color of their authority. She didn't ask them to leave the house. She didn't say that she felt threatened by them at any point. And everything was fine until she got to the stove. And I'll just give an example of the stove situation. Looking back on it, I think they should have probably asked her. This is what I would have done if I was in a situation, because I don't want her to think I'm overstepping her bounds, and I do want to be cautious to her own living space. So I would have asked her, "Ma'am, would you mind if I turn your stove off? Because it seems like it's going to catch on fire if we don't do something about it." I do understand how an officer wouldn't want to overstep their bounds and try to start turning stuff off in her house and messing with her appliances. In a reasonable situation, if she'd have went over there and turned the fire off and went back to sit down, that's what everybody would have liked to have seen happen. But it didn't end up that way.
Officer Tatum, I'm going to respond to that, then go to our co-panelist. So the argument is interesting, the contrast between both of you. Because Tatum, you're basically arguing that this is within the statutory framework of law. Now, the reason why
the shooting, only
right,
the shooting.
You're saying that's your argument. The argument that you're making is that this happened within the statutory framework of what is legally allowable, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, here's the problem with that. If you believe that laws equate to morality, dear brother, that means you would have to believe that when it was law that Black people could not sit where they wanted to sit on the bus, that law equated to morality. When Black people could not frequent establishments, could not have the freedom to assemble or the right and access to vote, that was law. That equated to morality. My point to you is, you do not.
I'm glad Dr. Rashard Ritchie brought that up, because see, I'm gonna throw one in there, even beyond what he said. At one point, it was illegal for us to be free human beings. We were considered 3/5 of a human being. So he makes a good point that not all laws are in the framework of being just or moral. They're not. And so you look at the smirk on this Sambo's face over here. Let me tell y'all something. What he's about to say coming up, you're not going to believe your ears, and you're going to understand. If you think I'm too harsh with my rhetoric here tonight, you're going to understand why I say that people like him have to be written off. Because if you say what you know what, I'm not going to even say that. I'm going to just let you hear it for yourself.
Judge, or at least for men like myself, I do not judge a statute or the framework of a judicial ruling in order to determine my morality and ethics as it comes when it comes to people. In addition to that, you're making an argument for the worst among us in policing. And you admit you did not like anything they did. You didn't like none of it. But brother, I hate to bring this home, man. Your mama living, Officer Tatum?
Huh?
Is your mama living?
Yeah, my mama alive.
My mother is not. If somebody did your mother that way in uniform, would you come on my show and defend them?
I'm not defending.
Yes,
I
y'all
think
do,
people
brother. Come
conflating
on, man.
as
You
if
are
no,
defending
listen.
it.
People saying like I'm defending it. Like I'm
Would you
defending
say
this
what
officer.
you're saying
I'm
if
saying
this was your mother?
I would
who
say the
was
same
handled
thing.
this way.
I would say the same thing because I'm going off of what the.
Do you hear what this bastard just said? I know you probably thought I was being hyperbolic when I told you that you hadn't heard nothing early in the broadcast examining this bastard. But see, let me tell y'all something, man. I don't know what everybody's family situation is in the chat room. Some people did not know their parents. Some people were adopted. Some people didn't know mother or father. But I knew both of my parents. Let me tell you something right now, nigga. I would launch war on heaven and hell itself for my mother had a motherfucker did that to mine. You hear me? It wouldn't be no consoling me. And it's certain things that there are no words to be said. And for this bastard to come out his mouth and say that if it was his mother, he was clear on hearing Dr. Rashard Ritchie. For him to come out his mouth and say if it was his mother, that he would react the same way and say the same thing, I don't know what that is. I'm not calling him a human being at that point. Your mother, the gateway to physical life in this plane of existence that you came through. And you gonna say that you would still say the same thing? I don't recognize that as a human being. There's no way I could relate to that. And respect to my brother, Dr. Rashard Ritchie, but I couldn't call him a brother or sister after hearing him say that. There's no way. There's no way in hell. This is why I said what I said about some have to be written off. This type of mental disability here, this demonic insanity, there's no explanation for that. I guarantee you could not put his white counterpart there and ask him that question and he say, yeah, especially if it was a black officer that had done it. I guarantee you can't find his white counterpart that would say that. I had to let y'all hear that for yourselves, but he ain't done yet. I want y'all to listen to the rest of this.
Law says,
You would say that if they killed your mama?
If this officer shot my mother after she threw a pot of boiling water at him,
going through a mental health episode, they did not follow protocol. They did not de-escalate. You would still come on television in order to debate that they or that cop was still legally in the right.
I'm only debating the law. I don't care for this cop, and I don't think that he did everything right. I think that he would have been probably worse off if he would have shot her the way they've been perpetuating it out in the news, that if she was just standing by the stove, she put her hands up and homeboy shot her because he thought she would throw a pot of boiling water. I mean, he would go to prison for the rest of his life. What I'm saying is that things begin to change when a person throws a pot of boiling water at him. I would have liked to see him do things differently. I would be very upset if that was my mom. I would have been very upset. I wouldn't have liked. I'm upset that this woman lost her life.
You couldn't have been too upset because you just set up here on this man's program and said that you would still be saying the same thing in defense of the race soldier. Because see, let's be clear, this is doublespeak. He's trying to sound as if he's not for what he did. But see, all black men in here, we would not even be trying to make any type of case to justify anything because there's no way you can do it. When someone is unarmed and your first thought is to draw your firearm to deal with that particular person, you don't need to be a police officer. You got multiple different types of deterrents on you. Pepper spray, you got tasers, and then the option to actually de-escalate and just leave out of the home. But yet, this maggot right here is sitting up here talking about, well, I'm not actually defending them. Yes, you are. And see, you have to teach black children about this type of crap right here because somebody will sit there and tell you what they're not for and then proceed to show you they're exactly for it. There's no way to get around that, Brandon Tatum. And any of you bastards running around talking about this is your good buddy, you just as big a coon as he is. There's a lot of coon millions out here too. And y'all should know the people that I'm talking about. These people are dangerous, man. We cannot have these people amongst us.
I don't think that this should have resulted in that. But the law will dictate certain things when it comes to self-defense. And boiling water is a deadly weapon because a person can get seriously injured, dismembered. I mean, not dismembered, but get seriously injured and pretty disfigured for life.
Sir, it's not considered a deadly weapon. It
is a deadly weapon. According to Illinois law, a boiling pot of water is a deadly weapon.
No, it's not considered. It's considered. No, sir. Look at the ruling, sir. It's not considered.
I know the ruling says, Dr. Ritchie, the ruling says that the water was the deadly weapon and deadly force was justified in that scenario. However, they are.
See, what's despicable about this, because him and Candace Owens and the rest of them, if this was black officers that had done this to a white woman, oh, he'll be like, oh, they shouldn't have ever did that. That was not justifiable at all. I guarantee you this little Sambo will be singing a different tune. Guarantee you. Because see, family, I don't watch this buck dancing buffoon here, but if any of you in the chat room know, I want you to clue me in on something. What was Brandon Tatum's stance on the black police officer that was on Capitol Hill that day that shot Ashley Babbitt when he was doing his job protecting the nation's capital? Because I guarantee you, I could be wrong. Somebody in the chat room, if you know, let me know. I guarantee you he was probably throwing that officer under the bus. Now, he was actually justified in doing his job. He only shot one time. Not 50, 60 times, once. Yeah, I would love to know what his stance was on that. If anybody in the chat room knows, let me know. Because, see, I guarantee you, like I said, I'll say it again. If it was black officers that was stupid enough to go and shoot a little old elderly white lady that had mental issues, talking about she was going to throw a pot of water, the entire justice system, and most of white America would not be trying to rationalize that. There's no way. Let it continue.
Arguing that he put himself in a situation that should not necessitate a deadly force. Let me just give you an example.
Brother, let me do this.
Let me just give this Tatum, example real quick.
Tatum, I'm going to let you give me the example, dear brother. But I want you to understand the difference between a deadly weapon, which is categorized by instrumentation, and the use of deadly force. The court made the distinction. You see, the device or the pot itself is not a deadly weapon. They talked about what the officer subjectively believed was the deadly weapon. That was the contextualization of the court, not the category of the pot or of the boiling water. To Officer Taylor, I want you to respond to Tatum, and then we'll go back for Tatum's example. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, the law does provide for self-defense. For instance, in the case of an officer chasing an armed person, if that person is going to get to a position of cover and be able to return fire, and the officer is in the open, that officer is justified in shooting this person, okay? Because it's accepted that the officer, through no fault of their own, right, in the performance of their duty, is inadvertently placed in a position of severe disadvantage, right? Which could result in severe injury or loss of life. That is mutually understood, it's universally understood. But also, saying that, it's also well known and universally accepted that if an officer is engaged in a gunfight with a person who places themselves in front of a group of citizens, to the extent that there's a possibility that if the officer returns fire, one of those citizens might be injured, then those are just rounds the officer has to eat. And this is basic. This is right out of the academy in Baltimore City, one of the most violent cities in the United States. It's known that if the person has a backdrop that's not safe, where the officer would take the risk of hitting someone, that officer's got to seek cover as best he can until the situation changes. This entire situation was manufactured. He manufactured these exigent circumstances, literally told the woman what he was going to do to her, and then did it. I don't understand any of it. I don't understand what argument he has. I don't understand it at all. I would not want to go to court with this argument. There's no way in the world I would want to do it. I think his partner was very uncomfortable. I think his partner was equally as confused. I mean, this is Derek Chauvin to the nth degree. This is crazy. This is madness.
Tatum?
So yeah, I just want to give the example. An example that they're giving with this particular officer, they charge him with first-degree murder, which is intentional murder, and it's not going to hold up in court whatsoever. And I wish they would have charged him something a little more appropriate. The example that I was going to give was that.
Give me a more appropriate charge.
Well, I think he's going to be found innocent or not.
Now, I want you to listen to what he's about to say in response to Dr. Rashard Ritchie saying, give me an appropriate charge. And see, you're going to see a pattern with this because, see, you look at what happened with our sister Breonna Taylor. You look at what happened with the charges that were given to Derek Chauvin, who's in prison. May he rot and not survive to get out of his prison sentence. I want you to listen to what he's about to say he thinks the appropriate charge should be because, see, one thing about these brain dead, soulless sambozos like Brandon Tatum here is they're actually a liability to the white supremacist system. Now, let me tell you what I mean by that. They buck dance around and get so close in there, wanting to be a part of something they're never going to be accepted in, like them folks. And then they start telling the things that they've heard the rest of their masters, listen to me closely, they start telling the things that the rest of their masters have said when they're all in little groups where they're like, okay, it's safe to say this around this coon here. He's going to tell you exactly what the rest of the race soldiers are hoping for and what they're going to be trying to do, because mark my words, they initially charged him with first-degree murder. Family, we can't celebrate yet. We got to make sure that charge stick, and he's convicted on that. Listen to what he's going to say he thinks the appropriate charge is, because whether you know it or not, he's speaking for his white supremacist masters that he wants to be like.
Guilty because of the self-defense argument.
But you
because
said
the
you
initial
wish they would have charged him with something more appropriate.
Well, I'm saying at least be reasonable, right?
But brother, what appropriate charge are you referring to in your mind?
Okay, so there's two arguments here. I think he's going to be justified, but that doesn't mean he can't be charged because people do have concerns about his behavior. I think that something more of, they could have gotten it for manslaughter, maybe second-degree murder, if they want to push it that far, would have been more reasonable. To charge.
Now, here's the thing. What we witnessed was not manslaughter. Manslaughter is when you're engaged in a fight with somebody and you hit them and that person fall down, hit their head and die. That's manslaughter. You didn't intend to kill them. He intended to kill that woman. They shot her 6 times in the face. So that's not manslaughter. It's damn sure not second-degree murder, because what you committed was first-degree murder. It was premeditated because on tape, you told this woman, you better not, I'll shoot you in your fucking face. That's what he said. When you said that, you had intention to kill this woman who's unarmed. There's no justification for that. But see, he's repeating what he's heard other white supremacist race soldiers that he served with say. Yeah, notice the pattern here, family. Remember that bastard up there, Daniel Cameron, that was over the case with Breonna Taylor? Remember how Professor Black Truth broke down how they sit there and try to lower them charges and didn't present all the correct charges to the jury with that grand jury nonsense? Because I guarantee you they're going to try to run the same playbook when it comes time for him to go to trial. See, they initially hit him with stiff charges to try to pacify people, but see, no, that's not good enough. And see, that's something that we have to understand, family. When it comes to getting justice for our fallen like that, we cannot relax and get to celebrating just because he's in jail now and got him still charged. We got to make sure he gets the conviction, and he needs to be put away for life, if not the death penalty. We know he ain't gonna get the death penalty. They ain't gonna do that. But that would definitely send a message to these race soldiers. And then you hear people like that gum-mouthed bastard Tim Scott talking about America ain't a racist country. And remember, Commandment agreed with him. We got people like this running around wanting to represent us talking about America ain't a racist country. You see what I'm saying, family? See, I'm going to let this bastard continue because, see, I told y'all, man, some of these people just have to go. These people right here, they are no earthly good to anybody in Black America.
Charging with first-degree murder is a burden that they're not going to have any chance at proving.
They still have an opportunity to add lesser. Yeah,
they have to try to prove premeditation. which is never going to happen in this case because everything was fine before she said, "I rebuke in the name of Jesus," while holding that pot of boiling water, which was the initial aggressive threat. Well, and so he used the threat of deadly force.
How is he's repeating the white supremacist talking points. How is "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus" an aggressive threat? There's no part of that statement that even if you wanted to, you could make that a threat. How? The only possible reach that you could have with saying that was a threat is saying that if somebody said it in an aggressive tone, and even then, how is that a threat? Rebuking somebody in the name of Jesus is a threat. But see, this is what happens when you so far integrated, or you think you so far integrated into them folks' society that you completely lose connection or empathy to black folks at all. This man is out of his damn mind.
Yes, sir.
Let me correct something that you said.
Okay.
The murder statute he's charged under, well, number one, lesser offenses can be added. I actually believe they will be. But the murder charge does not require premeditation in the sense that he went to the home in order to kill. It requires mens rea. And mens rea means that you knew or should have known that killing a woman who is ducking down on the floor in her home was a crime. You develop mens rea at that point, and that is the formation of charge. All right, go ahead, bro.
Well, that he would be guilty if that's what happened. We're all on the same page. If she crouched down and he just shot her because she had a pot next to her, he thought she was going to throw the pot, he would have had no chance in this case. But I think that when she picked the pot up, for whatever reason, I still don't know why she would throw the pot at the guy.
Well,
but she picked the pot up and threw it, and then when he shot her and used deadly force against her.
You do know that his knowledge of the mental health crisis is going to be front and center in the prosecution.
That doesn't preclude him from defending himself.
Just give me a moment. What it does is it sets a parameter of protocols that must be followed in order to protect life. And
but it also justifies.
If you decide to not follow those protocols, you have willfully engaged.
No, but it also
in the violation of those protocols.
It also lends to the fact of her being very unstable and making that furtive action without any kind of signs or anything before that. So
that's not
true. That is because
true.
She
had a
when he said she was crazy. No. When he said she was crazy, that sound bad for him to say it, but it was true because she may have been going through a psychotic episode.
Listen to this bastard, man. He would never say this about a white woman in that position. He never would.
But
see, brother, that's the point.
That's what they're going to make that point in the court of law.
That's crazy. Brother, that's not crazy, brother.
For somebody to be talking normal and you engaging in a normal conversation.
You don't talk normal. The hell you talking about? Tatum, you're crazy, Tatum. She was sick. She was going through a mental health crisis. She needed a doctor, brother.
Which is
you
fine.
are crazy. You sound crazy. You always do.
No,
all right, brother.
Fine.
Let me go.
I
said I wasn't going to do this. I said I wasn't going to do this.
Let's have a real conversation. Let's have a real conversation.
Negro, you said that you would defend the cop killing your mama. I should have kicked y'all.
I didn't say nothing about defending a cop killing my mama. I said it's a self-defense argument that he has a self-defense argument in the court of law. That's not defending somebody who can. You're getting emotional and taking it personal.
Damn right,
I don't know either one of these people. I'm just telling you what the law says.
No, you're wrong
we'll
about
see when it goes to trial.
You're wrong about premeditation. You're wrong about the law. All right, so, brother, if you would, what's your response, Tatum? I'm running out of time.
I'm over here dying, literally. I mean, I know what the law says. I know about self-defense, okay? I've been in bad situations myself. But I also understand that you can't ask the question, are you okay? Are you having an episode? Okay, and then place the woman. Literally, he placed the weapon in the woman's hand, if it was a weapon. He placed the weapon in the woman's hand.
You just said it right there.
Did.
Is it
and
a
I'm
weapon
not
or is it not a weapon?
I am not sure who had the mental break because she comes off very reasonable compared to whatever episode he was going through in his head. I've never heard of anybody tell someone what they're going to do to them. Okay, take the uniform off of it. Take the uniform off because he shouldn't have had it on the first damn place.
We can argue that.
If somebody says to you, Tatum, don't throw this at me. I'm going to shoot you in your effing face. Okay. I mean, hey, that's going to put you in a state of fear.
No, well, kind of, sort of, right? I mean, if I got a pot and I'm going to throw it on you and you pull a gun on me and say, I'm going to shoot you in the face, and I let the pot go because I realize this guy's going to shoot me if I throw this pot at him, and she put her hands up.
No, let me put it like this, okay? No.
He put her hands up.
No.
It was over.
I am not
shooting the pot.
woman.
Why did she throw the pot? No, I wouldn't either.
Because I don't want to get scolded, okay?
But
that's crazy.
If she throws the pot of boiling water on you, you could potentially die from 3rd-degree burns. You will be seriously dismembered or disfigured.
I'm not getting that close.
Permanently, you could be permanently blind.
I'm not getting that close.
It's not about
Martians could come down and take me to the moon or whatever. That could happen too.
We could say whatever we want to say and what we shoulda, woulda, coulda did. I agree with you. There's things that I believe I would have done differently. But when he points the gun at her, she puts her hands up. She goes down to the ground. She is no longer a threat initially she's no longer a threat to them with the pot, so they move in to see what she's doing. Maybe she's giving up.
They're still telling her,
but they're
warning her
because they're warning her because she did exactly what they were afraid of that she was going to do. They're saying, put the pot down. Don't touch the pot. They get closer to her. She gave up.
I got you. I'm getting the rap. I'm getting the rap.
They're going to prove that she intended to throw the pot the whole time.
Look, Tatum, like you said, you're getting emotional, brother.
I'm not getting emotional. I'm just telling you the truth.
I want to make sure we say this for the record. Mental health crisis, people experiencing them, it is a very delicate situation. And once that officer, and I, brother, I believe you, Taylor, that part is going to be important because he said it and it's on camera. He said it. He knew, he had knowledge. This is probably a mental health crisis.
It's a matter of record.
That's right. It's a matter of record now. And I think that knowledge going into that situation, and him still deciding to kill her rather than value her life and say what needed to be done was a mental health response.
The man decided that her life was not worth him getting scalded for.
This is what they were doing.
Or just walking away, just going outside.
This is what they were doing before the pot situation. They were on the phone with her. They were trying to get her the resources she needs before the pot. This is why in court is going to be a very different argument.
Well, we shall see, dear brother. You've been wrong. You've been wrong a whole lot.
I ain't never been wrong. What situation I've been wrong about?
Tatum.
But you're wrong today.
You say I'm wrong today. We will see. This is
all right. I gotta go.
Definitely wrong today.
I gotta go.
On record.
Thank you both for being on the show. Tatum, it is what it is, brother. Officer, I appreciate you, Officer Taylor, for all you do and for your advocacy and your contextualization, your proper contextualization. Thank you both.
And there you have it, family. Let me tell you something. What happened to our sister Sonia Massey? We owe it to not just her family, her children, to get justice for her, but we owe it to all of our ancestors that were unjustly murdered and killed. Because, see, we have to look at these things as if it was our family member, because unfortunately, it could be our family members next. If we take the mindset like a broken buffoon of a buck, like Brandon Tatum, where we just surrender and start cooning, that's not going to protect none of us. There's nowhere on the planet where a people has cowered down and their oppressors have found some type of mercy or view them as valuable human beings and recognize the dignity and their value of humanity. That just does not happen. Coward dies 1,000 deaths and the soldier only dies once. That is a very true statement. And now is going to be the time where the warrior class is going to be tested. And it's going to be up to those of us that actually care about the community to do what's possible to prevent these types of things in the future. That's it, family. I hope all of you have learned something from this broadcast tonight. I want you to take care of yourselves, take care of your families, have these discussions and conversations within your family unit about what to do, what not to do, as far as calling them race soldiers. For my single sisters out here, practice your Second Amendment right, get surveillance in and around your home. If nobody else will talk to you about how to do that, I will talk to you about it. I'm easy to get in touch with. There are plenty of brothers and sisters in the chat room tell you I'm not Hollywood. I'm not hard to reach because I care about my people and I love my people. So with that said, I want you to take care of yourselves. Salute to you. Black first, and I will see you all in future content.